Good afternoon, friends. On behalf of ABP Group, I would like to thank all of you for joining us today for this exciting virtual insight session on post-pandemic career opportunities in management. This session is being brought to you by Virtual Insights, ABP's virtual sessions platform in partnership with Acharya Bangalore Bschools. Today's event is powered by Ananda Bazar Patrika and The Telegraph, and the radio partner is 91.9 Friends FM. The objective of today's session is to share all the insightful tips and ways in which you can grow your career in managerial roles across organizations and the relevance of the MBA degree or PGDM in post-pandemic times. We are most honored and privileged to have with us our esteemed panelists for this session. Let me briefly introduce them to you. Our first panelist is Dr. Madhumita Chatterjee, Director, ABBS School of Management. Dr. Chatterjee has completed her MA and obtained her doctorate in history from Jadavpur University, Calcutta. She also underwent a short-term postdoctoral program in history, politics, and society from the University of Oxford, UK. Her areas of interest include ethics, sustainability, CSR, corporate governance, and cross-cultural management. With over 25 years of academic experience, Dr. Madhumita Chatterjee serves as the director of ABPS School of Management. She has played a significant role in evolving strategies for academic advancement. She is a prolific writer and also has to her credit various research articles in national and international journals. We welcome you, Dr. Madhumita Chatterjee, ma'am.
Thank you so much.
Our second panelist today is Mr. Giri Balasubramaniam, who is most commonly known to us as Pig Brain. He's a renowned educator, quizmaster, and a Harvard alumni, and he's an Indian Administrative Fellow from the Department of Education, Government of Karnataka. Mr. Giri Balasubramaniam is also the founder of Grey Caps, which has pioneered educational initiatives across Asia, catering to a staggering 16 million youngsters as a quizmaster. Giri sir has hosted over 2,500 shows across 9 countries. He's the only quizmaster in the world to have hosted quizzes at the iconic Royal Opera House, London. Prior to his entrepreneurial journey, Giri sir worked with the Economic Times and Walt Disney for close to a decade. A well-known author and TED speaker, he writes regularly in the media. He is a recipient of several awards. He was mentored by none less than Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam. We welcome you, Mr. Giri Balasubramaniam, sir.
Pleasure. Thank you so much.
Our third panelist is Mr. Bhaskar Roy, who is the Vice President and Global Ops Leader, Genpact Analytics and Data Science. Mr. Bhaskar Roy has more than 22 years of diverse experience in managing large business processes in the domain of analytics and data science, consulting and intelligent operations. His key expertise areas include sales and marketing, commercial and pricing analytics, advanced analytics, including machine learning and artificial intelligence, Six Sigma for driving digital operations and process transformation. His core expertise include end-to-end business management from pre-sales to customer experience. He has led and scaled service delivery for business process services and KPO. He has done his PhD in applied statistics and master's in statistics and MBA in marketing. He has worked with companies like Genpact, General Electric, Indian Market Research Bureau, and Nielsen Research. We welcome you, Mr. Bhaskar Roy, sir.
Thank you.
Our fourth panelist is Mr. Praveen Kamath, GM HR, Global Strategic Hiring and Redeployment, Wipro Limited. Mr. Praveen Kamath has over 25 years of strategic HR and leadership experience working in large-scale manufacturing, IT, and ITS organizations with a proven track record of leading global leadership teams, processes, and talent management practices. In the last 14 years, he has been associated with Wipro Limited, managing multiple roles, including being the global leader for talent acquisition, global leader for training and development, global HR business partner, and HR strategic initiative leader across businesses in US, Europe, and rest of Asia. As a passionate teacher, he spends his weekends with some of the best-known premier B schools in India and abroad. He also holds honorary board positions in multiple engineering and business schools. He's a mentor and coach for many young CEOs and has helped in their entrepreneurial ventures. We welcome you, Mr. Praveen Kamath, sir. And this interactive session will be moderated by Mr. Ajitesh Basani, who is the Secretary, SSS Trust, and the Executive Director of Acharya Bangalore Bschools. Mr. Ajitesh Basani is a Master of Science in Sustainable Energy from Santa Clara University, California, and an Industrial Engineering and Management graduate from MS Ramaiah. He is currently pursuing his doctoral program in data science from Bren School of Business, France. Mr. Basani drives the digital engine of ABBS, spearheading various initiatives across platforms with a strong focus on digital transformation of the organization. Alongside the digital portfolio, he manages marketing and admissions. He also capitalizes collaborations with foreign universities. We welcome you, Mr. Ajitesh Basani, sir.
Thank you.
We welcome all the panelists and the moderator and all the attendees who are joining in from various locations. We've had a phenomenal response for this session from various locations, and we are very keen to bring forth an insightful discussion today with you. Just a few instructions before we begin. The interactions will be for about 45 to 50 minutes between the speakers, and the last 10 to 15 minutes will be for the Q&A. So if you have any questions, please post them in the Q&A box, and the moderator will take the questions at the end of the session. Without any further delay, let me hand over the session to Mr. Ajitesh Basani, sir. Over to you. Our panel discussion today on the theme post-pandemic career opportunities in management. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. Before I go any further, we have 4 illustrious panelists across 4 different sectors. And more than anything, I think we're here to hear some of their valuable insights that they've accumulated over the years. And more importantly, we are also here to address a lot of these questions that students have, a lot of people who want to shift careers. What are the questions that, most painful questions that people have? We're here to address those. Let me jump right into this. My first question is to Mr. Giri, sir. Sir, we're here talking about education, management education. What do you think is the relevance of management education? Do you think it has its importance today?
All right. Thanks, Ajitesh. Very pertinent question to start a discussion like this. It's almost like saying, let's figure out where ground zero stands. And I think globally, we are all at ground zero for more reasons than one. I'm going to be honest and pragmatic because I think forums like this should really help students and, realistically map their future. I'm really glad to see very eminent people in this panel. The seriousness of that gets underlined. It's nice to see corporates taking time to be with, young students. I'm still like a moon is to the earth, so I'm on Dr. Chatterjee's side, the academic side, but really nice to see Bhaskar and Praveen take time for young students. So to your question, Ajitesh, I think all the more than ever before, management education becomes pertinent. Why? Today, one of the things all of us would agree with is COVID has left us with 2 things. The reality that there is going to be a lot of unpredictability in this world. COVID was unpredictable. We did not see it coming. It came and we had to deal with it. Second, unpredictability can come as a global phenomenon. It's not that we've not had pandemics in the past. The difference is it's a pandemic that engulfed the whole world together. Now, when problems arise, what is going to be required, which is what came out of a pandemic like this, is people who can solve problems, people who can help you get ahead from it, people who can objectively look at, okay, this is the situation. I do not have a tried and tested template from my past to, put out as a solution. So I need to find solutions. So what's going to become important for the future is people who are skilled and able to produce solutions for problems. And that's the core of management studies. The core of management studies is to be able to understand a set of data and not look at it merely as data, but to produce solutions. The second core component of management studies is, fine, we've got a situation on hand. How do we take people together in this situation? One of the core challenges, and I think people like Praveen and Bhaskar would be more competent to comment on it. Honestly, companies did not face so much problems with their business as much as they faced with rallying their people together in this situation. When there is uncertainty, people lose clarity, people lose direction. That's where management students come in because they're able to rally that. Leadership is no longer going to be top management. Leadership is going to be at every level. And that means you need more and more young managers and young leaders. So that's my starting hypothesis.
Thank you, sir. So, Praveen, sir, I have a question for you. I have actually watched a lot of your talks and have been part of the Bangalore circuit. So I've known you since quite some time, but you probably don't know me. I have a question regarding the whole situation with COVID. What has been the situation in terms of the workspace? How has this changed? Has it been any different, or do you think that people have learned to adapt to the new normal? Or what do you think about this, sir?
I'll answer my question. I'll answer your question in two phases. One is what is it that for ITS organization? So for us, it's a new normal. So it has not made any change. In fact, if you see the business houses, all the top business houses, ITS business houses have been doing extremely well, and that's been represented in the numbers and acknowledged by the market. As far as the other industries are concerned, I think all the industries which are desperate to have the customer connects, you need to have the face to the delivery. You have to have your products sold across the table. I think those industries are really getting impacted and going to impact for next another year or so, because by history it's proven that this kind of pandemic will go for 2 to 3 years minimum. So I think it's a realization for many other players sectorially to look at alternative paths to reach the customer, formats of doing business relatively differently, and looking at an opportunity to size up to the opportunities given the length and breadth and the scale of impact the healthcare industry had on all the sectors which we are talking about. So I think this is time to ponder, rethink, remodel your business solutions, and then look at alternative ways of reaching out to the customer world, thereby still winning and making money. If you are talking about business as an entity. For others, such as educational institutions, for example, I don't think it had an impact. While I continue to believe pedagogies of teaching on a screen has never been that easy for all of us as teachers, right, or trainers. So it's going to put us in a spot of identifying variety of options available with a limited exposure to having seen, touched, felt people while doing our own work, right? For example, you will find my entire body language, my posture, gestures, and ability to voice modulate in a classroom is very, very different when I sit in front of the mirror or a screen and take care of my classes. So I think there is a world which has changed. There is a world which has to be realized. There is a world which is looking for opportunities, alternative spaces to leverage the growth and identify them in a different world in the days to come. This is a new normal. This is going to be normal for next 1.5 years. We might have spoken about this, saying that it will be a quarterly affair. It will go and you will have it's like versions of cell phone, right? Or the mobile phones. You will have version Delta, Alpha, Gamma, Beta, will keep coming, and then you will have geographic spread, right? They'll say Indian origin, London origin, South African origin. We don't know. So one has to be prepared in terms of execution.
Thank you, sir. Madhumita ma'am, I have a question. Since you're the director of ABP School of Management, a question that a lot of people have been trying to understand is, how have you prepared the students during this time, and what have been the challenges, what have been the learnings in running a management program?
Yeah, thank you. It's extremely relevant because the pandemic hit us suddenly. I mean, it wasn't something that anybody was prepared for. Even the educational institutions were not prepared for. So it was an overnight change to digitization. And I must thank my management because we were already there with our paraphernalia ready for doing online courses. So we could immediately jump onto that. But of course, we did a bit of training with our faculty that how do you handle online classes? Because it's a totally different ball game when you are interacting with students online. Because in a classroom, you can watch their body language, you can interact with them, you can call out. But the challenges that we faced was the students, the internet connectivity in India is not as we would like it to be. It still hasn't reached many of the interior areas of India. And even if the connectivity has reached, the infrastructure like electricity and all are not available. So our students had those little issues, but we took it up by saying that we are 24/7 available for you. So you can connect with us on phone, you can connect with us on email. The reason we did this is because we knew that they are going through a huge apprehension. They are going through this huge depression that are they going to be hired? What is going to happen? Is their learning going to be enough? So we wanted to be in touch with them and ensure that mentally and physically they are up to the learnings that we are going to offer. And we trained our faculty how to create cooperative learning so that the student doesn't feel alone. So we would have breakout rooms, we would have group projects, we would have presentations. So we involved them totally. So there were these two sides. One side, we were preparing the faculty. The other side, we were ensuring that the students don't get into any depression, don't feel left out, even if they have missed a class, because the faculty was always available. So that building of the relationship, we ensured very well. And we knew that was what did the trick for us, because they were ready to give online exams and we conducted. So in a way, I would say it helped them to become more creative, because our questions were no longer like the normal questions you would get when you're doing an offline. So it was all about case studies, understanding, giving your opinion, different case studies. So that was a big learning. Even the students wrote back to us saying that they really enjoyed this different way of teaching that happened, but they still feel coming back to college is what they are looking forward to.
Thank you, ma'am. Bhaskar sir, you are in the forefront of analytics, and one thing that I've always wondered, and usually people don't ask or think about research, and do you see research being a relevant part of management education or a relevant part of a student's life cycle?
Thanks for the question. I think we all need to understand that we are basically living in an era, where there's a lot of information which is freely available. So, I think this was a dream in the past. Data was not free. There were a lot of information which you used to buy. Today, you have a lot of information available. You can pull out the information. You can solve a problem which is posed by NASA or Indian Council of Medical Research. You can pull out information. You can basically kind of discuss and write your own, insights into it. So I think research, which I feel is not about doing a PhD or a postdoctoral degree. It's an advanced mindset and discipline that transforms one's professional DNA. So, I feel that, the student should, focus on 5 things. One is, being curious. The second one is, willingness to experiment. Third one is skills to solve complex problems. Fourth one is imbibing the learning culture. And fifth is, which definitely, giving your edge over the others. Students should focus on various topics ranging from economics, data science, digital, healthcare now, because there are a lot of information which is available. And they should develop a habit of writing white papers, research, reading research papers, and also presenting their original work in various seminars and forums, because this is highly appreciated in today's world. And I think that is what, which, students should adopt.
Thank you, sir. And talking about mindset, Giri sir, I have a question regarding the job security. Do you think the concept of job security exists today? We are in a hyper responsive world. And do you think, what is the mindset that we need in terms of building that career?
I think job security is a myth we've created for our own selves. If you look at it technically and you go back to the Ramayana, Lord Rama lost his job. So job security hasn't existed from the days of Ramayana. And the most competent and virtuous man like Rama lost his job, technically, and he was banished. So if you really infer from that, there is nothing called job security. It is a notional feeling that we carry with us that it is, a security. Now, there is nothing called life security. So what's the question of job security? None of us know if you're going to be around tomorrow morning. So I think, and what Bhaskar said is superb. You've got to look at how you can ultimately, if you apply the 5 things that he spoke about, what is the resultant outcome of that? And I'm an academic, so I would look at it, what's the learning outcome in that? You become a better version of yourself. That is the key today. And if you are constantly a better version of yourself, job security is not even an issue for you. You will permanently have multiple jobs after you. And I think genuinely people who are solid don't really bother about this aspect of job security at all. So I don't think students should get into that mindset. Second, post-pandemic, I think many of us at much younger age than people like us experienced are actually going to be playing consulting roles, which means you're going to be working from home, you're going to be consultants. Companies are not going to necessarily recruit too many full-time people. They're going to recruit project-related people. So there's going to be project-related pricing costs that companies will adopt, which means in a given year, you may work with multiple companies. So if you're a good guy with a good skill or a good girl with a good skill, you're going to earn far more than in the olden days, which is fixed salaried amount. So I don't think job security should even come in the line of a thought process of a young Indian today. They should look at how am I constantly growing, evolving, and going to be able to contribute. If those 3 things are very clear in a youngster's mind, security is only a small thing that is inside your own state of mind. It's nothing in reality. Nobody can guarantee you anything. Having said that, I want to quickly take this opportunity since we are on a public platform. I really want to, take this moment to appreciate, and you're academic as well in that sense, Ajitesh. One of the communities that has not been appreciated sufficiently in the pandemic for really standing up is the academic sector. Hats off to the Dr. Chatterjees, to you guys. The way the education sector responded to the pandemic is brilliant. They were not in the forefront like the doctors and the nurses, and that includes the students. The students responded equally and seamlessly. Education happened. Our schools and colleges were closed, but education didn't close. That's the important point. So again, it's like job security. You didn't feel the insecurity of education stopping. It's just a building that closed. So that's the way I see it. Look at what you can do to improve yourself constantly.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. And just following up and expanding this, Sir Kamath sir, my question is, because you're in the forefront of hiring and redeployment at Wipro, what competencies do you look for when you are hiring fresh graduates, business graduates?
Okay, so I get this question multiple times in multiple forums. Nothing has changed between my life and 25 years back and now. I think every recruiter who comes to the campus today are looking for one, your basic sense of understanding of what you learned. Are you able to present it the way in which it can be understood by the recruiter? Second, your ability to have the latest and greatest skill to complement your existing skill set which came from academia. For example, if I'm a management graduate, do I know analytics, data science? Can I work hands-on on Power BI, Art Studio? These are questions which has become a new normal for a student who is passing out from a business school. If that's the point in context at a given point in time for business graduates. Now, if you're talking about graduates who would like to look at just to spend some time utilizing their graduate skills, for example, a professional engineer or a doctor, is he able to cater to the needs of cultural nuances, language requirements? For example, if you're a doctor, government of India says you have to go to a rural area and work. Now, can you speak in local language? Can you sympathize with the person who's come crying to you for a medicine? Now, language skills are completely ignored by our academic world. Okay, let me take an international context. Other than French and German, can we speak Spanish, Portuguese, or Mandarin? Look at all the world proposition of emerging world where there are opportunities. Everywhere they are looking at language skills. Cultural nuances can be well understood by the global leaders who are actually local in their mindset. They get bored by the fact that they can't understand language skills. Now, so cultural issues by having insights on language, knowing your skills which you've learned well, able to articulate it well in front of the recruiter, ability to take the latest and greatest technology skills, which is agnostic of which specialization you are. You can be a doctor. Are you working on the robotics? Can you work on sophisticated technologies which can do microsurgery, because your hand can't live with the dexterity just because you are a super surgeon for 40 years. Your hand will not allow you to do a microsurgery in a spot in which you have to reach and really seal that particular bleed which is going on. A robot can do it much, much better. So what I'm saying, it's agnostic of sectorial representative which you have. If I'm a Airtel, or if I'm a dish antenna seller, can I have my ability to have global mobility in one platform, which can connect me and the external world through my instrument called mobile phone? Mobility is changing the world. Now, if these are the latest and greatest technologies, agnostic of your sectorial representation, you need to learn them. And if you don't talk that language in your interviews as a fresher, be it undergraduate fresher, post your graduation, or postgraduate fresher, right? I think these are the insights which I think all of us as academicians or practicing leaders, when we go and speak to kids, need to inculcate in them from time to time.
Thank you, sir. Madhumita ma'am, you run an autonomous institute, and as Giri sir mentioned about how the academic institutions across the country have kind of, they've been responsive timely because of the pandemic. How aligned do you see Bschools today with the industry, and how important do you think the curriculum of Bschools are today?
I would speak from my B-School angle, because I know what we have done. So Bschools have to be aligned to the corporate. There is no two ways about it, because as Dr. Giri already mentioned, that management students are there to solve problems, not create problems. So they'll be going to the industry, and the industry would be looking for them to solve the problems. So even Mr. Praveen Kamath said that. So we want to cultivate knowledge, skill, get the resources, build the relationships that are required in the industry. And the connect with the industry is very important, because as just now it got pointed out, that various sectors have reacted to this pandemic in different ways. ITS may be doing very well, but we have the manufacturing sector that is not doing well. But that doesn't mean the manufacturing is going to go out of the scene. So today's students, while we teach them marketing, finance, HR, or data analytics, we have to see what is is required in today's world. So today's marketing will now look at probably framing new principles of marketing and sales based on the new data that is coming in. So digitization today is going to be the new normal, as we say. So it is no more going to be, the content. It has become the container of our education. So every student, so in our B school, we have ensured that right from term 1, we are training them in the quantitative skills. So it starts with basic statistics, because we know in India, management students come from various backgrounds. They may be from liberal arts, they may be from, science, they may be engineering and commerce. So there is always this fear that will I be able to deal with numbers? So we start with basic statistics, we move them up to business research, business analytics, and then give them training on various, the aspects of analytics with different functional areas that are involved there. And we offer them different electives in that. So we have ensured that today's this demand for digitization is getting covered in my curriculum. And that has come because we have interacted with the industry. Industry has guided us. We have our BOS where we have industry people coming and telling us. So they have told us today marketing is different. It's a relationship building concept. The operations today is very different. The supply chain collapsed across the world. So is there a new way of looking at shorter supply chains which are going to ensure that you survive in this market? The whole global funding has gone for a toss. The human resource, so these factors are now being taught in our B school from that angle. We are still teaching HR, but we are looking at HR with a different perspective. We are still teaching data analytics. So this is the fact that has to be there. And if we move away from the industry, management schools will not be able to deliver. And therefore we have live projects that we do with the industry. We have industry veterans who come and take even portions of the course, like we had the PwC partner come and talk about the global business, because what are they doing? So we have these kind of interactions which are extremely important if the students have to go and really solve problems and be able to work in uncertain conditions. Life is going to be ambiguous and they should be ready for it. So that's the way I feel it should be.
Thank you, ma'am. Bhaskar sir, the next question is basically on analytics. We have had our panelists also talk about analytics briefly and talk about the kind of requirements that are there today for hiring. So I just wanted to understand in terms of analytics, what is it and what do business students need to learn about it, and what are the kind of opportunities that exist once a graduate comes out?
Sure. So let me start, with a very common phrase, which says, in the past, data was the king. In the future, insights will be the king. So if you look at the overall Indian analytics industry and the data science industry, it is growing pretty fast, and it will continue to play a key role in the decision making across every sector and industry. The market size of Indian analytics domain today is around 50 billion, and which is growing at a rate of 27 to 28% CAGR. Because this industry will focus on developing sophisticated, intelligent, autonomous systems to help achieve tasks with greater precision, speed, and efficiencies than their human parts. So very important is to understand that, this overall industry where, people as well as, the machines and technology will also play a big role. Machines and technology basically can solve, can automate, can digitize, but people will add value. So people, understanding analytics as a domain, data science as a domain will be the key, part of the entire industry's growth. So today, if you basically look at it overall, if you talk about ITES market, more than 25% of the hiring is done from the analytics domain itself. 1/3 of people who are engineer graduates are there in analytics domain. More than 1/5, 20, I think 22% people who are MBAs join analytics domain. So overall, we have seen there is a huge demand, and there is a big gap anyways, between the demand and supply. We have people with a lot of degrees, but they don't have the skills. So this industry is actually, always, have a gap, in terms of, having the right people. So this industry is going to grow. Definitely, we need more people in this industry, and data analytics and business analytics is, one of I think most of the education institutes now have started this as a separate specialization. So I think that will continue. I mean, it is as important as a marketing or a finance or a operations. So I think this will also help us to basically bridge that gap which we have today in terms of demand and supply.
Yeah, I think even I was reading somewhere about some of the starting salaries for the analytics specialized students, and it starts well over 10 lakhs per annum.
Yes,
and I think that kind of indicates that this is just the starting curve to the growth part of the sector, and there's a long way to go for us.
Yeah, according to a recent survey done by Analytics India magazine, they say the median salary for analytics students, I mean, that is around 15 lakhs. Within 2-3 years of their career, they basically go into the higher salary bracket of 10+ lakhs, which was unheard of, before.
Thank you, sir. And I want to move and kind of shift to a different area now. We've spoken about analytics, but I've always been questioning about, can a regular student, so Giri sir, I have a question for you. Can a regular student, in the sense, a student with a background in, apart from the regular BBA, BCom, can a BSc biotechnology student, or can a BA arts student, an arts student, humanities student, does there lie opportunities for that student in management? Can they pursue that route?
Oh, absolutely, yes. In fact, I'll answer with a statistic, perhaps. I think currently about 8 to 9% of all IIM students are art students. If you take the 2020 onward or 2019 onward batch, the intake even into an IIM is huge from the arts sector. Science students, definitely yes. 2 reasons. One, it goes back to the problem-solving logic. If you need people to solve problems in healthcare, you need people from science to come into management. If you need people to manage people better, you need people with arts, culture appreciation, history, psychology to come into management. So every domain progresses into management. Management studies itself has become so vast today. Today, you need people in communication, you need people in media, you need people in data management, you need people in data interpretation, you need people in different walks of life under management itself. So for sure, there is a huge scope. Go abroad and take a look. I can certainly speak from a Harvard point of view. Harvard focuses a huge amount on people from arts, commerce, cultural backgrounds, and so on and so forth. You're still talking, probably BA literature, BA. Today, you've got people who do dance, people who do music, who come into management studies. So the opportunity is huge and phenomenal. Today, I work with government. People around me are all some of the sharpest minds you would have got when they were 25 years ago when they became IAS officers. Take India's UPSC. They all come from psychology, history, political science. Those are the backgrounds that they do, and then they crack civil service and they become civil servants, where they're basically managing the state, they're managing the nation. So never ever should a student who's with arts, science, or any of those backgrounds think that they do not have a management aptitude. And like Dr. Chatterjee said, there are small little skills that you need to adapt yourself to, like statistics, appreciation of numerics, learning how to perhaps just learn how to read a balance sheet. You're not a finance guy, you don't have to know how to prepare a balance sheet. But if you're going to become a CEO, you need to know how to read a balance sheet. So that's the difference between the two. You don't have to be a finance professional to understand finance. So fear of it is what keeps people away. The system does not keep people away.
It is essentially a generalist program.
Yeah.
We usually say it's a generalist program. Sir, Kamal sir, my question to you is, has the way we hire people changed since the pandemic? Are we hiring less? Are we hiring more? What is happening right now in the industry?
So just to make sure I understand your question well. So you said, is there any change in the hiring strategy?
Yeah.
Okay. No, actually not. The only change I can see is many of us in the ITS industries are going online. That is platform-based hiring. So, a platform could be available for you to look at whether the person is really doing and answering the question paper, and making sure the person is available for taking a test, easy test, taking the test in front of someone, or somebody is guiding him through. I think these are the different things which we are looking at, but there is not much change in terms of the levels and screenings which we do. There is absolutely no change. I'm just mindful of the time. I think should we give some time to students to ask questions, because it's 4:44 already.
Yeah, we can take one last question and then probably, is that fine, sir? Okay, so just again, getting back to hiring, what kind of opportunities do students have? Madhumita ma'am, the question is directed towards you. What kind of opportunities have students been getting during this pandemic? Has there been a decline, or what is the trend currently? Madhumita ma'am? Yeah, the question is, what is the current hiring trends like for students? Has it declined, or has the system, since everything has gone online, how have you been looking at, or how have students been looking at it?
Just to answer that, our placement has done quite well, and all the industry who are tech-based or in the academic sector also, there are a lot of these educational unicorns who have come. They are looking at hiring students, but placement hasn't suffered, because the industry is of course very savvy with doing online interviews, making them do online work. So we have had no problem with the students getting their jobs. So we have had banks come and hire. We have had IT sector come and hire. We have had the educational sector come and hire. Manufacturing, not very high, but yes, still they have come and hired, because in their opinion, they have to move on. So they need good people who can help them to design the future. So placement hasn't taken a hit at all. And we have had the sectors who are doing very well come and hire in larger numbers this time, and with better packages. And because the students have an analytics background, and that was one of the things that helped them, because they could crack their aptitude tests. And also, as Dr. Giri was saying, just having the knowledge, that was important for the industry. They can always groom them into what what they really want. But the basic knowledge is what the industry is looking at, because they wouldn't like to spend time on that. And the factor of ABBS school doing well was because we have a long industry internship period with the industry. It's almost more than 4.5 months. So our students had that basic understanding of the industry, knew that how data is getting used in the industry. So that's why we had to plan for all this in the placement with this pandemic. So we ensured that they were ready with these online things. We have trainers, UK-based trainers, who are giving them inputs, about how to do online interviews, how to prepare the resume, offering them internships. And let me tell you, internships now are coming with as high a package as 20,000, 25,000, which is something that the students earlier had not thought of. So which was again a thing one of our panelists pointed out, that you might have small contractual time with the company, but you're going to do well. You will be in, people will want you. So we've had these new things that have come into placement, and students are enjoying that because they feel they have the freedom to choose. So we have not had much, but we, as I must say, we got these inputs from the industry. We prepared the students accordingly, and that was how we moved ahead with our placement. So
Thank you. We have a lot of questions from eager participants. I think we can.
Can I make a quick comment to add to what Dr. Chatterjee said?
Yes, sir.
This is actually, sort of advice to students who are in colleges currently, be it graduation or post-graduation. As an entrepreneur, I see my company recruiting. Students should take internships very seriously. It gives us as companies a longer window to assess a student. It gives the student a longer window to understand a company. We have multiple students from Dr. Chatterjee's Institute who have interned with us and joined our company, only because they were willing to do that internship seriously. Otherwise, we wouldn't have probably gone all the way to Kolkata to recruit. So, but superb. I think that is important in this, that as a student, you may get the opportunity for an internship because the institute will provide it to you. It's the onus of the student to make that internship translate into a job for them. And these are areas where I would urge students to take these things seriously. Don't treat it like a tick mark where you're saying, internship ho gaya, report de diya. That's not going to get you anywhere in life. Use that, make the impression, treat it like a job. That's important, because companies otherwise are not going to waste time on internships. Today, time is premium, cost is premium. So I just wanted to underline that for students to also realize they've got an equal role in this.
Some really valuable insights there, sir. Thank you so much for that. I think students need to look into internships as the pathway to that final job placement. So let us, firstly, there's a question by Nishant. He says, how many types of management courses are there? Please specify. Anybody would like to take this?
Dr. Chatterjee should be there,
yeah,
right?
I can answer that. Yes. Management course as such, management is a program. Management is something which is the basic program that is there, but it offers you various types of opportunity in all areas of business. So whether you want to do a marketing specialization in management, you want to do a financial specialization in management, or data analytics, or even disaster management today is picking up in a huge way. Sustainability management is picking up in a huge way. Companies are recruiting CSR people from management, because management is teaching that CSR governance. So management as a term is one, if I may say that, but it has a lot of options open out, which is probably not there in any others. As we started with, it's a very generalist way of looking at your education, and you get a lot of opportunities. You can do dual specialization, and you may choose which is the way you want to go. We have had people who, of a student of mine who did HR specialization, but a Dubai-based company hired him for marketing. I mean, they just felt that during the interview, he had great communication skills, and because he could speak well, so, and he took up the job because he said, I think they have realized it. So there are many options, but management, there are some core papers that you need to understand in management, because that is how the business runs. So understanding business needs you to understand those core papers, and then, you know, the sky is the limit for you to choose. And today, good institutions are offering you a number of specializations. And in fact, in ABBS, we have just started going into theater and management, and students have just had their first session today. Highly exciting for them, and we'll see how it rolls out, because liberal arts is what NEP is also talking about. So we felt we should be one of the first runners in this. So thank you.
So the next question is Professor Chanchal, who says, I would like to ask, what will be the role of HR in corporates when work from home becomes new normal and stays for a longer period? So what are the job perspectives of my HR students?
Okay, so there is no change to HR students from an opportunity standpoint. You better skill up in terms of your recruiting skills, your training skills, your performance management, ability to be a business partner in HR or a talent engagement manager. The change is, how do we really engage people when people are not there in front of you? The change is, can you still be in touch one-on-one with the people? Can you do focus group discussions? Can you engage them from some activities online? Can you get them to consult you at a specific time frame in terms of identifying their needs and their emotions and their pains which they go through? Organizations have invested heavily on making sure whether it's insurance coverage, timely response time, engagement in terms of taking care of all the health-related issues, emotions-related issues, the lack of balance between work and life, because it just drags into your evening hours and goes up till 10 o'clock because people think that you are available at any point in time. I think that's, even Bhaskar can answer that. Many times when we work from home, it's actually you end up spending more time than what you do actually in reality when you do offline. One of the requirements which my wife always tells, and she opens the door and tells me, please stand up, look at outside, stretch your back, pull it hard, do some, have the exercising ball here, right behind me. She says, please use that. You can do so many exercises. Now, are you able to transfer that communication? Can you educate that to your employees? Making sure every employee is productive in the real sense. That's going to be the challenge, and that's been the challenge, I think, which has been mitigated over a period of time. I'm sure we all learn on the fly, and we have learned sufficiently well.
Thank you, sir. Ashish has a question for Bhaskar, sir. It says, if employee wants to come in data science opportunity, then how will he be able to, with his background from a different domain, and if he doesn't have experience in that domain, how are companies managing to make them a part of their environment? So basically, I think he means, well, if a person has no background in data science, how can they come into a company?
So I'm not sure whether employee means somebody working in a company already, or is it a student? So I can answer for on behalf of both. So we basically have upskilling programs in most of the organizations. We upskill people. We basically ask people to kind of choose a domain, and we kind of train them. So internal training is being done. People who, as Dr. Chatterjee and many panelists have spoken about, is irrespective of your background, I think you should understand data. You should basically develop an affinity, towards data. If you're comfortable working in a data, not all data science is, kind of applying artificial intelligence or machine learning or, cloud technologies, right? Data science, can basically start with basic data related stuff in terms of understanding data, creating some dashboards, reports, making insights from data. So there are many different levels of jobs in an organization. And as you start working on it, you graduate, you start learning more about it. And we have, in our organization, I can tell you that
Shall we, I think Sir's stuck. Move to the next question.
Yeah, we should.
Shubhadeep has a question. It says, I have completed my MBA in 2019 and I have worked for a year in marketing and sales. But for this pandemic, I lost my job. So what should I do to skill up my knowledge, data analytics or digital marketing? So he wants to know, should he upskill? Anyone?
Answer is yes. I think the one issue with all of us is, and I'm sure Giri can complement with his diverse experience, one shouldn't be sitting idle for sure in terms of skilling up. As the gig economy, you can work as a RJ in the morning, or afternoon you can take your guitar and play it in the 5-star hotel, and the evening you can write a content for a newspaper, and evening you can give a fan commentary for a European football. So, one pays you monthly, one pays you hourly, one pays you per page, and one pays you per spots. So, my guess, and this is what I'm going to do in about a few years' time, once I'm done with my PhD, and I'm going to be out there leveraging all my skill set. I can play tabla and earn money because I'm already a radio artist. I can go and teach somebody exercising skills by not really doing something which is messy after your 50s. So I think it's your ability. You should understand which are the two domains which are. It's like a pie chart, right? Yeah, have you seen the pie side symbol? So pie symbol says 2 deep domain and the spectrum of breadth. It's master of 2 and jack of all. I think in this universe, you should have 1 or 2 mastery. And if that is marketing, if it is IT, define it well and go in depth. And most of us have done it. Giri, I'm sure will have a lot of examples from his own experiences. Giri, over to you.
The narrative of a day put by you, if someone can catch that, they've arrived in life. And if you can do that much in a day, I mean, that would be brilliant. But I think, for a student audience, I'll give a simple example to what Praveen's trying to say. Today, take cricket. Our era, you were a batsman or a bowler or a wicket keeper, and you were in the team. Today, you don't get to be in the team if you're a batsman or a bowler or a wicket keeper. You've got to be a combination of at least 2. You got to be good at 2 things, and then you can be a good fielder, you can be an add-on of something, etc. So your anchor skills are crucial. And I think that is important for youngsters to realize today and to work on those. There's a second thing which is very important along with upskilling yourself, is also to never let go of an area that you are passionate about. I'm speaking for myself. Honestly, if I go back to my school or go back to my college days, nobody would, even now maybe, there are people who ask my wife, is your husband the guy who does the quiz shows? And she says, yes. And someone's asked her, so what does he do for a living? So, so people do these things. So it's not tried and tested careers, but how did I get into it? It's just because I was passionate about what I was doing, and it brought bread and butter to the table. So we are a company today. So keeping your passion alive and doing something about it along with what I would call a day job. If your passion does not become your job, don't sit and whine about it. Take a job that you're good at, build a skill around it, but don't let go of what you're passionate about. What Praveen says is so true. A time might come when tabla could become what, would get you money. But don't let go of it. At that time, you can't go back and dust it and, try to relearn. Stay in touch with your passion.
Very true, sir. So there's a question by Rudrani. She says, why do most reputed MBA colleges take less people from engineering background than from other disciplines, especially because there happens to be a huge difference between the two cutoffs?
Okay, I can answer that. I've been on multiple panels advocating that to some extent, so I can plead guilty for it. See, there was a time when the imbalance was the other way around. There was a fair amount, almost a decade, when most of our MBAs were actually engineering students, at least from top institutes like what we have here. A lot of students were engineering students simply because they had a very high aptitude for math. And that very high aptitude for math actually made them, probably even crack CAT. And in the process, they developed communication skills and got in. There was also a realization that was happening parallelly that society does not require only management students who come from engineering aptitudes. We require people from a variety of skills. In fact, at a couple of IIMs, I don't know the exact math, you could actually have a lower CAT score, but make it to an IIM if you're an arts student than if you were an engineering student. There is a differential cutoff. And that's only because you want people from varied backgrounds. So it's bound to be there. I think there's also a gender incentive that's being given by some IIMs, if I'm not wrong. Maybe Dr. Chatterjee would know that. So institutes are doing that. So balancing society is going to exist. You're going to have, a balance of gender. You're going to have a balance of backgrounds. Everyone thrives when diversity coexists. That's clear. Whether it's government, whether it's private sector, diversity is the way forward and the coming together of diversity. So there's no point in you looking at the rules of the game that exist. That's the way it's going to be. So you got to just look at how you make it, even if there's just one slot for you. That's my advice.
And if I may just add, management education is just not a technical education. I mean, as we have been talking about it, it is very wide and you are dealing with human beings. I mean, you may make an AI, but the AI will need so many permutations and combinations to understand that, something with 4 legs is a cat and something with same 4 legs is a dog. But for a child, if you show him a cat or a dog, he knows immediately. So AI needs those permutations and combinations, whereas a human being will not need. So human beings will not disappear from the workforce. So these will become facilitators for us, all these technology, AI and everything. So we need both kinds of people. We need human beings who understand relationships and are able to build it. Today, COVID has actually taught us how important cooperation is. And it's somewhere it is believed that maybe students with a humanities background who have had literature or who have done history or who have done pol science can bring in that aspect into management, whereas the engineering students can bring in the quantitative aspect, and we have a brilliant combination. So that is why Bschools are looking at, as we just now my former panelist also discussed, that diversity is very important. Even corporates are looking at diversity. I'm sure Mr. Kamath will be able to highlight on that. So this is an aspect that is making the Bschools create a good balance between the technical skills, the humanities skills, and the liberal arts. So this is where I feel maybe you are seeing the change in the cutoffs that are being put forth. So.
We have an interesting question from Sam. He says, middle-level management professionals are one of the most affected people when it comes to the post-pandemic job cuts. This has worsened with lack of new job openings for this category. With limited experiences in their respective field, they can easily make a consultant role also. What should be the scope for these people going forward, keeping the job hunt live or try out some new business opportunities?
I would suggest both. When we say job loss can be redefined as role loss. The roles must have got changed because of the patterns of that role is either being done in a very systematic manner using technology or done by a younger, versatile candidate or an employee or a prospect. So as we all know, Gartner did a study in 2020 last year. About 2.3 million jobs, roles have to vanish, and about 1.6 million new roles came into the picture. Now, am I party to that new role? If I'm not party to that, it's like if you put a graphically sunset skill set on the left side and sunrise skill set on the right. If you belong to the sunset skill sets, you may not be able to get a job. It's not about losing the job. It's which side of the skill you belong to. That's important. So I always tell this to middle managers and people who are in the verge of losing the job or lost their jobs. First of all, they should not lose hopes, because that's not end of life. Second, they should look at opportunities which they can slowly build, both in terms of competency and financial stability. Third, you never know. You might have a part-time opportunity as a contractor. There's no stigma attached anymore. You can work on a part-time basis for 3 hours with someone, and at the 6 hours of the day with somebody else, and 2 hours sitting at home and doing your passionate hobby, as Giri rightly pointed out. I think people have to be open for these changes. Yeah, keeping in mind your stability, emotional stability, conviction to convince your family, which is your wife and child. Okay, because a lot of people ask them, what happened to your father's job? I think that's it. That's more impacting than we feeling it inside being a professional. I think these are some of the nuggets which I can think of.
Thank you, sir. Saraswata has a question on the prospects of a 1-year MBA program versus a 2-year MBA program. Ma'am, would you like to take this?
Yes, there is a trend of a 1-year MBA program, but that requires a lot of experience beforehand. I mean, walking into a 1-year MBA program where you would have seen it, abroad, there are many institutions who are offering, but they take with a huge amount of experience from the industry sector, because teaching in 1 year the whole concept of management without experience is not going to be easy. So the 2-year is more spread out. You have enough time to learn about the concepts much better, and most of our Indian students do not have that kind of a work experience. If you're looking, I have myself gone to Harvard to do a course there. There are people who have had more than 10 to 12 years of experience, and they're coming in for management. So for them, they don't need to know the basics. They start at a point where they're able to talk about their stories. They're able to build on what they're bringing to the table. Everybody builds that, and you learn from that. But for students who do not have experience, I would say 2 years is a good time that you should spend in a management institute, do your internships, do your live projects, interact with the industry, and then you are much more ready for a better job. This is my take on the Indian MBA scenario at this point of time.
Okay, and we have another question. After facing almost 1.5 years of COVID pandemic, what should be the strategy of management consultants to go forward? Any quick answer to this?
Nothing has changed for management consultant, whether you're a business analyst or a management consultant. What has changed? Nothing has changed. The only issue which I think we should keep in mind, if you're becoming consultant or an analyst, build your deep domain. You just can't become a consultant or an analyst without knowing the domain. For example, your domain is telecom, your domain is energy and utilities, your domain is BFSI, your domain is healthcare. Now, depending on manufacturing, process industry, you could be a mechanical engineer with specialization in lathe machining. You need to have depth of your manufacturing knowledge in order to become a consultant or an analyst. So I think that's more important than anything else at this juncture. So complement your skills by having depth in these these areas which you want to build on a long-term basis, so that you'll become an excellent consultant. I still remember, sometime back, 20 years back, when I went through a conversation with a customer based in UK. This was in my earlier organization. The customer came on to the call or discussion, and he said, "How many of you are from LIC?" He was an insurance major of UK, and this conversation was in London. He was very clear, "I want to be insurance.
You're not audible. Yeah. Okay, we'll take one last question. Is MBA in pharmaceutical management worth it? Or even agri-business management? I am from life science background. So any questions for people from life science background? Do you think management or an MBA in pharmaceutical management is worth it? Ma'am,
yeah, I can highlight on that, because in our institute we do have life sciences as a course, and in today's scenario, yes, the pharmaceutical industry is doing extremely well, the hospitals are doing extremely well. So if you have that skill, it is certainly going to be great, and management is required, whether it's a hospital that you are going to join, or whether it's a pharmaceutical industry you're going to join, or you become an entrepreneur and you offer new services in this world. Today, if you look around, there is a huge need for people who need to be taken care of during post this pandemic. There is a huge change in the entire scenario. There are elderly people, we have gone through the separations, we have gone through depressions, and so though life sciences does not get into the psychological part of it, but you do have that medical experience, and you could probably see newer opportunities coming up. So I'm sure management in life scences is as good, if not better, in this current scenario.
I can add to it. Absolutely, healthcare and pharmaceutical industry will see a huge growth, in the coming years, right? And there's an enormous amount of research and technological advancement which is happening. I myself is working, with ICMR, so there are so many things, which is going on. I think not even, the government. I think there are a lot of private players, who are doing a lot of research and thinking of, basically kind of transforming that entire, healthcare and medical, industry. So I think, there's a very bright future, very bright future.
Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Any final conclusions, sir? Giri, sir, would you like to?
See, I think we're talking to a lot of youngsters. I have only one final advice to them. The greatest thing that moves mountains is self-belief. Just build belief in yourself, competency in yourself. Look at how you can be better tomorrow than you were yesterday. If you can build that as an attitude, because people can teach you skills, they can't give you your attitude. Whatever Dr. Chatterjee and her institute does, or your institute does, Ajitesh, you can teach them skills. You can teach them. The attitude has to come from the child. The attitude has to come from the employee. So if you can build that, that gives you your confidence and your belief system to move forward. So they are for sure in a better world than we were. That is something I can assure them. How they capitalize that opportunity is in their hands.
I think with the right attitude, even without having great marks, I think
you can
opportunity come in front. Yeah,
Absolutely.
I can add something. According to Ratan Tata's word, no one can destroy an iron, but its own rust can. So likewise, none can destroy a person, but his own mindset can. So I think, change your mindset. It is very important. Be flexible, adapt to the new situation, and make sure that, you don't rust. I mean, you don't destroy yourself.
So we can add resilience, adaptability, and flexibility as skills that they already have, and they can develop further on that. So along with your intelligence, these are skills that you must have in any scenario, whether COVID or post-COVID or more COVID, anything that is going to come. So yes, your mindset, your self-belief is the most important thing, and that will take you far. I mean, whatever course that you're doing, wherever you're going to join, and you must do a very, very discerning choice when you make an informed choice. Ask people, don't be scared of changing if you feel this is not the right. I mean, the world is open there, and a lot of opportunities have opened up, and every time we have a crisis, more opportunities come. So don't think we have come to a standstill in this world. We are actually going to move ahead with the new opportunities, and if you have the will, there is always the way. So that is a old cliched saying, but I believe in it because I've seen many of the students do that. I mean, we have had students do excellently in this. One of our students, just to finish off with an example, she is launching a health drink, and actually she got from Nestle, Unilever, name all these great people who approached her and said, can they take her health drink? And then she came back and said, you know, when I realized that they are approaching me, my drink must be good. So I'm going to go ahead with my drink on my own. So she's naming it and going ahead. Maybe in the beginning she may have problem, but she has this passion and she tested it out in the market. So this is what I'm trying to say. If you have that passion, you can take it forward. So thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, so thank you everyone for joining. I think that's been a very interesting session today. I'd like to thank all the panelists and the moderator for joining us for the session. The session we hosted was on post-pandemic career opportunities in management, which was brought to you by Virtual Insights, which is an ABP initiative, along in partnership with Acharya Bangalore B School. And the event today was powered by Ananda Bazar Patrika and The Telegraph, and radio partner 91.9 Friends FM. I would like to sincerely thank the speakers, Mr. Ajitesh Basani, Mr. Giri Balasubramaniam, Dr. Madhumita Chatterjee, Mr. Praveen Kamath. Unfortunately, he had to log out. There's some problem with the internet connectivity. And but we thank him for joining us today. And of course, Mr. Bhaskar Roy, sir, for taking time out today and joining us for the session. I thank all the attendees for such a phenomenal response. I hope we have been able to instill some amount of hope in these difficult times. We have to carry on anyways. And like there's a sunrise after every sunset. So we will move on forward despite all pandemics. And so with this hope, we'll end the session here today, and we hope to look forward, to having a presence in the other sessions. We shall keep you posted regarding developments in the next session. And till then, we're signing off today. Be well, be safe, and stay virtually connected. Thank you very much.
And Rakhi, I would just like to add that if they have questions on management, ABBS School of Management is happy to answer that with experts. So they can write to us. They can, even if they may not be my student, we would like to do that as a service to the society at this point of time. So thank you.
Yes. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. Like ma'am said, you can also write to us at virtual.insights@abp.in, where we can pass on the questions that you may have to the ABBS school, and or any of the panelists. You can just reach out to us through email. So thank you everyone for joining us today.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.